We actually don't have any of the language of the new contract yet. The guild has called it an exceptional deal with with meaningful gains and protections for its membership, but we actually don't know exactly what it covers. But we know that they were looking for, um, some regulatory language, I think, in AI, better residuals, staffing minimums, that sort of thing. So the guild seems happy with it, and so by proxy, the writers seem pretty happy with it too, and they were all out celebrating Sunday night. Well, there are some procedural elements that need to be sorted out. The whole contract needs to be ratified by the membership. There are a few other assorted things that need to be completed first. But I would presume that they're moving pretty quickly on it. And the thinking has been from the studio side that if the writers can get back into their rooms in October, and obviously this is also contingent on SAG-AFTRA closing out their strike and coming to a resolution and a new deal there. But if all that comes into play, then shows could go back into production as early as January. Well, the town shuts down in November and December. So, you're really looking at a very short period of time, like a matter of weeks, basically, before we hit Thanksgiving and then everything closes for the holiday. Right now, I think it's mostly about how much of the 23-24 broadcast TV season can be salvaged, assuming that production is able to go back as early as January. I spoke to a writer a couple of weeks ago who said that they had a new show that was scheduled to debut in September this month. And because of the strike, it had been pushed back. And now, because it's a new show and studios and networks want to give new shows a good chance, he's thinking that the show might actually get pushed back to next September. So, that's a whole year lag. So, there's going to be a real bottleneck, a real sort of accordion crunch of the slate. And those are all things that are going to have to be figured out in the months to come. Yeah, because you're looking at sound stages that have been booked in early 2024 through the next calendar year. And presumably there are going to have to be some things that get rearranged once shows that were supposed to already be in production go back into production. But presumably once the WGA deal has been put to bed and agreed upon, those talks are going to reopen with SAG-AFTRA, because you can't have production without actors. You can have writers' rooms in the works, but you can't have full-on production without those performers. So if they want production to start up in the next couple of months, they're going to have to figure out a way to resolve that 3-year contract. I mean, I think you look at the writers who were out on those picket lines for 146 days, the strike captains that were working at the different studio lots. There were 9 different studio lots out in LA, several in New York. The lot coordinators, these are the people who were really there almost every single weekday that those pickets were in action. I was talking to a lot coordinator last night who, would man the picket over at Fox Studios. And I said, "How are you feeling?" And he said, "Well, it's going to be weird to not be out on those pickets." But of course, he was happy that a deal had been made.
And
And writing can be such a solitary endeavor that a lot of these folks who were on strike were really happy to be able to meet other writers and meet other people in their industry and form a real sense of community. And I think that's a component that won't go away after the strike is over.